The pre-dawn calm of San Diego was violently disrupted. It occurred in the very early hours of the morning. The date was Thursday, May 22, 2025. The clock showed approximately 3:45 a.m. A civilian business jet had tragically fallen from the sky. The aircraft was identified as a Cessna 550 model. It crashed directly into the Murphy Canyon area. This area includes a military housing complex. The impact site was soon a scene of chaos. A terrible start to the day for many residents. Weather conditions at the time were far from ideal. A dense, heavy fog had settled over the region. This significantly impaired visibility for any pilots. Navigating the airspace would have been extremely challenging. The darkness of the early morning added to the difficulty. Pilots rely heavily on instruments in such conditions, but even with technology, the risk remains high. The fog played a critical role in this unfolding tragedy. It created a veil that hid the dangers below. The approach to any airport becomes perilous. The initial reports painted a grim picture. A loud explosion was heard by sleeping residents. Many were jolted awake by the terrifying sound. Then came the sight of fire and destruction. The jet had collided with at least one structure. Emergency services were immediately alerted to the disaster. The exact circumstances were still unclear at that moment. All that was known was a plane had gone down, and it had happened in a residential neighborhood. The safety of those on the ground was a major concern. The community was plunged into a state of shock. News of the crash spread quickly despite the early hour. Fear and uncertainty gripped those living nearby. The Murphy Canyon area is home to many families. The thought of an aircraft crashing into homes is horrifying. This event was not a distant news story for them. It was a catastrophe unfolding in their own backyards. The peace of their suburban lives was utterly shattered. The full extent of the disaster was yet to be revealed, but the initial impact was undeniably devastating. The aircraft involved was a Cessna 550 business jet. This type of jet is popular for corporate travel. It is known for its reliability under normal circumstances. This particular Cessna was registered out of Alaska. It was linked to a company owned by Dave Shapiro. Mr. Shapiro himself was a pilot, adding another layer. The Federal Aviation Administration provided early details. They confirmed 6 individuals were on board the aircraft. Their identities were not immediately released to the public. The focus was on the unfolding emergency situation. The jet had embarked on a cross-country flight. It departed from New Jersey late on Wednesday night. The specific time was around 11:15 p.m. on May 21, 2025. A refueling stop was made in Wichita, Kansas. This is a common practice for such long journeys. After refueling, the flight continued towards its destination. The final leg was bound for Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport. This airport is located in San Diego, California. It serves general aviation and business flights. The aircraft was nearing the end of its long trip. Preliminary information suggests a critical error occurred. The jet was on its approach to Montgomery Gibbs. It was approximately 2 miles southeast of the airport. During this final phase, tragedy struck unexpectedly. The aircraft reportedly struck power lines in the area. This impact would have been catastrophic for the plane. Control would likely have been lost almost instantly. The collision with the power lines preceded the ground impact. This detail is crucial for understanding the crash sequence. Foggy conditions likely made spotting these obstacles impossible. The sequence of events points to a challenging approach. Flying in thick fog demands utmost precision. Pilots rely on their instruments and air traffic control. However, unseen hazards like power lines can loom, especially when visibility is near zero. The descent towards Montgomery Gibbs turned deadly. After striking the power lines, the jet was doomed. It then collided with a house in Murphy Canyon. The impact was forceful and immediately destructive. This chain of events led to the devastating outcome. The human cost of the crash quickly became apparent. At least 3 people aboard the jet were confirmed killed. This news cast a pall over the initial rescue efforts. An El Cajon-based talent agency, Sound Talent Group, was affected. They confirmed 3 of their staff members had perished. One of the deceased was co-founder Dave Shapiro. Mr. Shapiro, aged 42, was also a pilot. Initial reports had mentioned 2 fatalities on board. The number tragically rose as more information surfaced. The fate of the other passengers remained unknown for some time. Further details about the victims began to emerge. Dave Shapiro was a significant figure in his industry. His company, Sound Talent Group, was well regarded. The identities of the other 2 deceased staff members were withheld. This was to allow time for their families to be notified. Such notifications are a painful but necessary process. Speculation also arose about another potential victim, Daniel Williams, a former drummer for The Devil Wears Prada. He had posted on social media about being on a plane. He mentioned flying with Shapiro the night before. Miraculously, no fatalities occurred on the ground. This was a small solace in a largely tragic event. However, 8 people in the vicinity sustained injuries. These injuries were reported as mostly minor. They were likely due to the fire and debris, or perhaps from the scramble to escape the danger. Residents in the directly impacted house were incredibly fortunate. Neighbors bravely assisted them in escaping the flames. Their quick actions may have saved lives. The community pulled together in a moment of crisis. The crash ignited a massive and terrifying fire. The scene was described as chaotic and hazardous. A 2-story house was engulfed in flames. Several vehicles parked nearby also caught fire. Jet fuel was reportedly spread widely across the area. This created a gigantic debris field spanning streets. Assistant Fire Department Chief Dan Eddy described the scene. Significant damage was inflicted upon 10 homes in total. This necessitated evacuations across several blocks. The neighborhood looked like a war zone. The emergency response was swift and extensive. Over 100 firefighters rushed to the scene. They battled the intense flames fed by jet fuel. Most of the fires were extinguished by 7:45 a.m. Thursday. However, one vehicle fire proved more stubborn. It continued to burn for a longer period. Police officers and military members also provided assistance. They helped secure the area and aid residents. Their coordinated efforts were crucial in the immediate aftermath. The priority was to save lives and contain the damage. Support systems were quickly put into place for those affected. A temporary evacuation center was established promptly. It was set up at nearby Miller Elementary School. This provided a safe haven for displaced residents. Hancock and Miller Elementary Schools were closed on Thursday. This was a precautionary measure due to the incident. They were scheduled to reopen on Friday, May 23rd. The San Diego Humane Society also stepped in to help. They offered temporary shelter for pets affected by the crash. These efforts showed the community's resilience and compassion. The National Transportation Safety Board is investigating. The Federal Aviation Administration is also involved. This is standard procedure for all air crashes. Their investigators were on site to gather evidence. The investigation was officially ongoing as of late Thursday. They will meticulously examine the wreckage and flight data. The aim is to determine the precise cause of the crash. This process can often take many months, even years. Their findings will be crucial for preventing future incidents. Safety recommendations often emerge from such tragedies. San Diego has unfortunately seen air tragedies before. In October 2021, a twin-engine plane crashed in Santee. That incident killed the pilot and a UPS driver on the ground. It also caused significant damage, burning homes. Further back in 2008, an FA-18 Hornet crashed. This military jet crash occurred in University City. It tragically killed 4 residents and destroyed homes. These past events serve as somber reminders. They highlight the inherent risks associated with aviation, and they underscore the importance of thorough investigations.